Hi, welcome back. I'm Dr. Michelle May, the founder of Am I Hungry? Mindful Eating Programs and Training, and the author of the Eat What You Love, Love What You Eat book series. This is our third video. You might remember in the first video I told you a little bit about my story, and I think as many of you have been posting on my blog and on my Facebook page, I realize that many of you can relate to that story too. Now, in our last session together, we started talking a little bit more about emotional eating. You remember the mindful eating cycle and the instinctive eating cycle. Well, in the overeating cycle, why you're eating will drive when you feel like eating. It'll determine what you feel like eating, how you eat it, how much of it you eat, and where you invest your energy. After all, when a craving doesn't come from hunger, eating will never satisfy it. So I taught you a new script. Do you remember what it was? When, describe the situation. I feel, describe the emotion or the feeling. I need, describe the need that that emotion is trying to tell you about. And I will. What are you going to do? What's one small step that you can take? When, I feel, I need, I will. So many of you have been posting on our blog and on our Facebook page, and I really appreciate that because it helps me understand your thought process. I realize that this is not easy. It's much easier to keep reaching for food, but we know that doesn't work very well. So some of you also were concerned that after many, many years of eating this way, that this really wouldn't work for you, that these habits were too ingrained or that there was nothing you could do about it. And I really want to address those issues. This is really important because if you are constantly looking to your outward circumstances to address the challenges that you're having, then you're giving away your power. Your power is in taking an inside-out approach to this challenge. So I want to teach you more about how to do that. But whenever you look to the outside world to change, you're really just waiting. And you're going to keep waiting until they change, and I can promise you they probably aren't. So what we need to do is take our own power back and make the changes within ourselves. Now, the other issue that you talked about was maybe it was too late. Maybe this wouldn't work for you. Maybe you could never learn how to do it. Or maybe your challenges were too big or too great. And I want to be really clear about this. I have been teaching this approach to eating for over 16 years now. And I have worked with people who thought they were addicted to sugar, for example, or thought they had too many emotional challenges and used food for too many reasons, or that they were too out of control, or whatever the reason was. And they were able to resolve their challenges with food. And I believe you can too. I wouldn't have given up my medical career to focus all my attention on this if I didn't think that it would make such a big difference in your life. So have a little bit more faith and trust in yourself because I do. Now, let's get on to our content for today. Last time I told you that I wanted to talk a little bit more about your hidden triggers for emotional eating. And I've already given you a big hint about this, and I suspect that some of you kind of already figured this out. And that is that for many of us, restriction and deprivation have been driving our overeating. Let me talk about this a little bit. So back in the day when everybody was dieting all the time, and I'm happy to say that that seems to be happening less and less as we realize these diets really don't work. But back in the day when we would try to diet, we learned all kinds of rules about what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat. We learned that certain foods were bad and certain foods were good. Some foods were free, but some foods had to count for points or extra points, or we had to exercise to earn the right to eat them. When you give food power like this, you're putting it up on a pedestal. And I hate to tell you, remember, I'm a human behavior buff. When we do this, we actually begin to crave the foods that we can't have even more. And so what happens is that when those foods show up in our environment, especially when we're feeling stressed or we're bored or it's a holiday or something else is going on, and we say, oh, no, I'm not going to eat it. It looks so good, and we keep thinking about it, and then eventually we eat it or something else, and then we feel guilty, like we've really blown it. And so then we say, well, I've already blown it, I might as well keep eating, and I'll go back on my diet tomorrow. And so we eat the rest, and then we feel guilty and ashamed. We feel like we're so weak-willed, we're completely out of control. And so we start the diet over again tomorrow. Except now we feel even more powerless and we've given food even more power over us. Doesn't work, does it? We end up eating more every time we go through this whole cycle. And then the guilt and the shame that we experience actually becomes part of our triggers for emotional eating. So diets trigger what I call the restrictive eating cycle. And of course, most of us don't stay in a restrictive eating cycle for very long. Sometimes it's days, weeks, months, hours, and then we drift back into an overeating cycle. This is what I call the eat, repent, repeat cycle, remember? Same thing as yo-yo dieting. Except this eat, repent, repeat cycle seems to take on a life of its own. We get so wrapped up in it that we can't even tell that the dieting is part of the problem. So we try harder, we try something new. The plan says, oh, they're new and improved. And so we try it again and again and again. And over time move further and further and further from our instinctive ability to know how to take care of our body. You see, this problem is not about the food at all. It's about understanding why I eat in the first place. So many of you wrote comments on the blog about your struggles with food, about not being able to stop when you eat sweets, or overeating at night, or starting to eat certain foods that maybe somebody else brought to the office or brought to your house, and then losing control. I want to tell you, it is not about maintaining control. It's about being in charge. Being in charge means that you recognize your triggers, you understand that you want to eat, you maybe understand a little bit more about why, and then you make a mindful, conscious decision. And we have layers and layers of tools and strategies for how to do that. That's what my work has been over the past 16 years, is developing this very simple pattern that you can learn. Everybody can learn it. I've been teaching it for many, many years to thousands of people, that you can actually move away from dieting and begin to redevelop the skills to manage your decisions about eating without restrictive rules again. Most importantly, as I mentioned last time, it's about freeing up your energy so you can do what you love and love what you do, and eat what you love and love what you eat. I know it seems counterintuitive to believe that letting go of rules around what you should eat and letting go of good and bad food thinking will actually help you, but it will. For me, that was really the first big step that I took. I stopped dieting and I started really choosing foods based on what I really, really, really wanted. What I quickly discovered is that food didn't have any power over me. I could eat certain foods and then enjoy them and then move on. And as soon as I knew I could eat them whenever I wanted them, I didn't crave them all the time. I know that's hard, and I know that if you've been doing it differently, that may seem impossible. But I also know that there are a lot of people who are listening to this who have experienced this very thing. And I hope that you'll go to our blog and our Facebook page and share your experiences, because it's really tough for other people to believe it's possible unless they hear from people who've done it. So please don't miss this opportunity to share your experience with other people. I'd love for you to experience what I've experienced and what so many others have who've stopped dieting and started eating what they love and loving what they eat and meeting their true needs without food. Now, I know that might seem a long way from where you are right now, but I think it would help if we did a little visualization. So I'm going to guide you through a mindful eating visualization where you can really picture what it's like to be in this life. This is the life I want for you. This is the life I think you can have. So if it's comfortable for you, just go ahead and close your eyes while I read this to you. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's fine. Just find a soft gaze out in front of you. Begin to take a couple of big, deep breaths and just calm your nervous system. Picture yourself. When you eat mindfully, you're the expert on meeting your needs. Understanding your own body cues and what your body needs for optimal health and well-being, you choose when, what, and how much you need to eat. You balance eating for nourishment with eating for enjoyment. You connect with your food in a positive manner, seeing it as your life force, as well as something to be fully experienced with pleasure. Your pleasure comes from truly appreciating the origin, preparation, visual presentation, aromas, flavors, and textures of your food. You feel good in your body. You take care of your body, mind, heart, and spirit. When you're eating mindfully, you know when you've eaten too much or in a way that may physically upset your body. When it happens, you approach yourself with an attitude of compassion, so regret becomes a tool for learning. Mindful eating means that you have awareness of the physical, environmental, and emotional triggers for eating other than hunger, and you're able to redirect, accept, and ultimately meet your true needs. Since you're in charge, you can choose to eat when you're not hungry if you really want to. Once you learn to manage your eating and improve your relationship with food, you begin to trust your ability to take care of other areas of your life too. You begin to choose activities that make you feel better, body, mind, heart, and spirit. Your relationship with food improves as you become more connected with it. You gradually feel more whole and integrated. Take a couple of big deep breaths and picture yourself in that life, free of emotional eating, free of restrictive eating and dieting, able to use food for pleasure and fuel, but not thinking and talking about it all the time. I'd love for you to post your experience on our blog. I want you to post what you think your life could look like. Share one thing that you would do differently if you were free of your emotional or mindless eating. What one thing would you do with the extra energy that you had? Over the last 16 years, I've had so many amazing opportunities to work with so many of you. And I know that this life is possible for you too. I want you to keep an eye out for my next video because I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. We have been working on some really cool content. I cannot wait to tell you about it. Now, if you've been with us for a long time, maybe all you really need is a little bit of support, maybe some reminders about what you've learned, maybe a little bit of help implementing it into your life. For others who've never really thought about this before or maybe don't really know if it's possible for you, tune in next time. I'm going to tell you exactly how you can learn to eat mindfully, give up dieting, eat the foods that you love, address your triggers for overeating, and mostly free up your energy so you can live that life you crave. We've been offering workshops, retreats, webinars, and trainings for many, many years now. I have never been so excited about what we have coming up. I hope you'll tune in because I have some really cool things for people who take action right away. So don't miss that next video, and I'll watch for your comments on the blog and on my Facebook page.